Welcome to the Michigan Runner Show. Join us each time as we explore the people, the places, and the events that shape our great sport.
I'm with Don Kern. We're talking about racing in Michigan in the time of COVID. Don is involved with 3 marathons. Actually, he helped start them, and thanks to a lot of fantastic volunteers, he has them. One of which in 2021 already happened, the Groundhog's Day Marathon. Coming up, the B2B, the where you can qualify twice for Boston in early to mid-September, and then finally sort of the flagship, the Grand Rapids Marathon, which is mid-October this year. Don, how did you pull off Groundhogs? What was the results, and how are you projecting for your upcoming races?
Well, one of the nice things about Groundhog, because we're all contained right inside Millennium Park, we didn't have to deal with a lot of different entities, different governmental bodies, and so on. We basically had to work with the park. We did get a little advice from the health department, but the health department here is pretty good. And, they'll tell you what they need to do. We had to really what we had to do is make sure we had some COVID protocols in place and make sure we had the right disclaimer language in our thing, which is only tweaked a tiny bit. They gave us a couple suggestions, but it really was not a bad deal. We were not able, usually we put up a big tent inside the pavilion and so keep us warm and so on. We only put 2 sides on the tent. And we did open up the starting line a little early so that if people wanted to start by themselves or if they wanted to start a little late even, everything was totally chip timed, which means, it's almost like a time trial as opposed to we told the guys, if you're going to be one of the winners of the thing, we'd like you to start right at 8:00. But if you're going to take a little longer, we had an early start for people. We had, they could start early, late. Once we started, we opened up the start line at, 6:00. We let them keep starting until 8. And, when we had the main start, but, we had it so that number one, we could get them out of there faster because we were kind of in an open sided tent. And, but it just worked out really good. Everybody was totally respectful. That's the thing I like about marathon runners. And we did our last 2 events last year. We have Millennium Meadows Marathon the end of August, and we were able to we actually distributed bandanas for people. I had these yellow bandanas. I bought a ton of them. And so basically everybody who didn't have their own mask to the start had a yellow bandana. So, we just gave them to everybody. So for Millennium Meadows and the BQ.2, we just gave them those. We started them in we staged them in that big field out behind the pavilion so we could start them every 5 seconds or whatever. We basically had X's on the ground leading all the way up to the start line, 6 feet apart. And as soon as the X in front of you was available, you could go up to it. And, like I said, people were really respectful. Runners really wanted to have an event. And a lot of people came and they said, the last 5 events I've had have been canceled. And they were so thankful to come out and to have a real event that they weren't not going to violate any rules. We took temperatures, we had them sign disclaimers, we had all that stuff. But, we had no problem with, and nobody wrote me and said, hey, I got COVID at your event or anything like that. And in fact, I don't know how they could. We're out in the open air and everything. But they got started, they got all done, they'd put their mask back up and so on while they're hanging around. And we had to remind a few people, but really pretty awesome people. We had to go virtual on Grand Rapids Marathon last fall. Metro Health said, we can't support it downtown, and downtown wouldn't have supported it anyway. So it was just a nice thing that we made the call early enough. We deferred people to this year. So I'm starting out with a whole bunch of people who are already registered. And then we gave anybody that went virtual, we gave them half off this year, as well as last year. We had shirts and medals and the whole bit, and I also had the buffs that I ordered for them so that I could have them, so they could have those on their face if they started Grand Rapids. And so I sent them they're the tubular bandana things that but they're printed for Metro Health Grand Rapids Marathon. So they're kind of a cool little memento of that. And they got the socks, of course, like always. And so, we were able to get through the year, and it definitely wasn't a prosperous year for us, but you know what, we got through it okay. And we're planning on being full speed ahead for this fall. Might have to rearrange the Y expo and that sort of thing, and put it out in the parking lot instead of upstairs. But we're planning, and it's looking like, with the big races going on, like Virginia Beach just happened a week or so ago. There's some other ones fairly comparable in size to us that are happening, and I'm convinced that we're going to be okay.
Chances are there's also going to be a bit more competition in fall from spring marathons that have rescheduled towards then. But my experience with Grand Rapids is that you have some loyal people. This is a one of a kind event. This is worth coming to.
Well, I like to think so. We pride ourselves on giving everybody a lot of personal attention, and if you read my newsletter, it goes out every Thursday, and so I share stories, and it's not just dry facts about what's going on. It's like keeping your attitude positive, and keeping your how to train and how to do a lot of different things. And and just I've been sharing my epic adventures lately, because I want people to realize that if you can run a marathon, you can do anything. You can there's a lot of strength there that you get from just being able to be a marathon runner, and there's adventures all over the world to be had. So